notable book of the year. Espada is a professor in the Department of English at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where he teaches creative writing, Latino poetry, and the work of Pablo Neruda. I want to say about Martin Espada that his work tells wonderful stories, but also reaches out to the world with compassionate hands. It's the only way I can think of to describe it. I think of a line from E. Cummings, "Nobody, not even the rain, has such small hands." And in a way, that's what Martin Espada does when he writes about the past, about memory, about the people who are lost and forgotten in the world. Let's welcome Martin.
Buenas tardes. Thank you very much, Maria, for that introduction and for bringing me here this afternoon to share the stage with Dorian Lux. That was a wonderful reading. Please give her another round of applause. I'm going to be reading from the book that was a finalist for the Paterson Poetry Prize, The Trouble Ball. Here it is. And I want to show it to you because that is my father. Frank Espada, who was 17 years old at the time this photograph was taken, as he reared back to fire an imaginary fastball. My father, Frank Espada, was born in Utuado, Puerto Rico in 1930, and he loved baseball. And particularly, his heroes were the stars of the Negro Leagues, who came to Puerto Rico and played there, even though they were prohibited at the time from playing in the major leagues back in the United States. My father particularly loved Satchel Paige, the great pitcher, and is imitating him in this photograph. Well, my father came to this country in 1941, and one of the first things he did with his father was go to a baseball game at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn. Now, when we think of Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, we think of Jackie Robinson integrating Major League Baseball, but that happened in 1947. 6 years before, Ebbets Field and the Dodgers were just as segregated and racist as any other place. As my father and his father would discover to their everlasting regret. So, this is a poem I think of as a baseball biography. It's called The Trouble Ball. The Trouble Ball, on the most literal level, refers to Satchel Paige's changeup, named all his pitches. But on another level, it refers to the great trouble in this country of race. And the meaning of the phrase keeps changing throughout the poem, where the phrase serves as an epistrophe at the end of every stanza. So, The Trouble Ball for my father, Frank Espada. In 1941, my father saw his first big league ball game at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn. The Dodgers and the Cardinals. My father took his father's hand. When the umpires lumbered on the field, the band in the stands with the bass drum and trombone struck up a chorus of Three Blind Mice. The peanut vendor shook a cowbell and hollered. The home team raced across the diamond, and 30,000 people shouted all at once as if an army of liberation rolled down Bedford Avenue. My father shouted too. He wanted to see the trouble ball. On my father's island, there were hurricanes and tuberculosis, dissidents in jail, and baseball. The loudspeakers boomed, Satchel Paige pitching for the Brujos of Guayama. From the Negro Leagues, he brought the gifts of Baltasar the King. From a bench on the plaza, he told the secrets of 1,000 pitches. The trouble ball, the triple curve, the bat dodger, the midnight creeper, a slow gin fizz, the thoughtful stuff. Pancho Quimbre hit rainmakers for the Leones of Ponce. Satchel sat the outfielders in the grass to play poker, windmill 3 pitches to the plate, and Pancho spun around 3 times. He couldn't hit the trouble ball. At Ebbets Field, the first pitch echoed in the mitt of Mickey Owen, the catcher for the Dodgers who never let the ball escape his glove. A boy off the boat. My father shelled peanuts, waiting for Satchel Paige to steer his gold Cadillac from the bullpen to the mound, just as he would navigate the streets of Guayama. Yet Satchel never tipped his cap that day. ¿Dónde están los negros? Asked the boy. Where are the Negro players? No los dejan, his father softly said. They don't let them play here. Mickey Owen would never have to dive for the trouble ball. It was then that the only brown boy at Ebbets Field felt himself levitate above the grandstand of the Diamond, another banner at the ball game. From up high he could see that everyone was white, and their whiteness was impossible, like snow in Puerto Rico, and just as silent. So he could not hear the cowbell or the trombone or the Dodger fans howling with glee at the bases loaded double. He understood why his father whispered in Spanish everybody in the stands might overhear the secret of the trouble ball. At Ebbets Field in 1941, the Dodgers met the Yankees in the World Series. Mickey Owen dropped the 3rd strike with 2 outs in the 9th inning of Game 4, flailing like a lobster in the grip of a laughing fisherman, and the Yankees stabbed their spikes across the plate to win. Brooklyn, the borough of churches, prayed for his fumbling soul. This was the reason statues of the Virgin leaked tears, and the fathers of Brooklyn drank not the banishment of Satchel Paige to double headers in Bismarck, North Dakota. There were no rosaries or boilermakers for the trouble ball. My father would return to baseball on 108th Street. He pitched for the Crusaders, kicking high like Satchel, riding the team bus painted with 4-leaf clovers, seasick all the way to Hackensack or the Brooklyn Parade Grounds. One day he jammed his wrist sliding into second, threw 3 more innings anyway, and never pitched again. He would return to Ebbets Field to court my mother. The same year they were married, a waiter refused to serve them, a mixed couple sitting all night in the corner, till my father hoisted him by his lapels, and the waiter's feet dangled in the air, a puppet and his furious puppeteer. My father was familiar with the trouble ball. I was born in Brooklyn in 1957, when the Dodgers packed their duffel bags and left the city. A wrecking ball swung an uppercut into the face of Ebbets Field. I heard the stories, how my mother, lost in the circles and diamonds of her scorecard, never saw Jackie Robinson accelerate down the line to steal home. I wore my father's glove until the day I laid it down to lap the water from the fountain in the park. By the time I raised my head, it was gone like Ebbets Field. I walked slowly home. I had to tell my father I would never learn to catch the trouble ball. There was a sign below the scoreboard at Ebbets Field. Abe Stark, Brooklyn's leading clothier. Hit sign, win suit. Some people don't see that sign in dreams. They speak of ballparks as cathedrals, frame the pennants from the game where it began, Dodger blue and Cardinal red, and gaze upon the wall. My father, who remembers everything, remembers nothing of that dazzling day but this. ¿Dónde están los negros? No los dejan. His hair is white, and still the words are there, like the ghostly imprint of stitches on the forehead from a pitch that got away. It is forever 1941. It was